The 2011 Can-Am Commander, these are built to do everything, go off-road, work around the house, go in the dunes. These have 71 horsepower, little twin Rotax engine, and it's gonna be our next project. I wish I would have checked it out better when I picked it up. The tailgate isn't hooked up right. The steering column doesn't have the lockout. Got this paint that they painted over the original plastics. We'll have to pressure wash all that off. And it doesn't come with a diff. I didn't realize that. I looked at it, started it up. It sounds terrible. I did notice this was in the back and it had no filter. The seats are in terrible condition. They're just dirty, I think. I think we might be able to clean this up. All the plastics are loose. This doesn't have a clip. I mean, literally, this whole thing is half taken apart. Probably a bad idea, taking on somebody else's project. I've made a list of the parts I need here, the front diff, CV axles. When I talked to the guy about buying this thing, the only issues that he mentioned it had was some grinding issues. He said it was in rough shape, which it is. I mean, that's pretty apparent. But he mentioned that it was just grinding, so it'd be fine at low speeds, but once he got up to higher speeds, it'd start grinding, which we're gonna drive it out so you guys can see. I haven't done much of that. I just pulled it off the trailer, brought it in here, and that's it. So we're kind of gonna figure this out together here. So, we're in reverse right now. So reverse seems fine, which it usually is. It was on the other one. So we're in high right now. I'm a little worried it's in the engine. It doesn't sound like the engine when it's idling, but as it's going. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift it up from the back end and we'll put it in drive and give it some gas and see where the noise is coming from. I'm gonna give it gas without putting it in gear. It's hard to tell here, but as I was accelerating, all I heard was valve train noise. I didn't hear any grinding, so I decided to go into high gear, do the same thing, accelerate, and it sounded exactly like it did when we were driving. So for sure, something's going on with the transmission. What's different about this one is it goes into gear fine and accelerates, and then it starts grinding as it's moving. Yeah, it's definitely a transmission. It's definitely got some lifter noise, you can hear it. So let's go ahead and pull this all the way in. We'll start ripping it apart. The nice thing with this is, since it doesn't have a front drive shaft, this is what I fought the most last time, because you've got your engine mount, there's one up here, and then there's this one here, and you have to get the front drive shaft at the perfect angle to where you, for all the videos I've seen, people take it off, but if you get it to the right angle, it'll pivot enough where you can kind of shimmy the engine out. So this is gonna be much easier to remove. We just gotta get all this disconnected. We'll remove the fuel tank, get the other seat out. Wow, look at this. Jeez, something got loose in there and just, or they were driving with this exposed and it hit a bunch of rocks. There's a little bit of wear on the belt, but not bad. I'll go ahead and drain the coolant while we're here. Now we gotta take off the intake, throttle body. There we go. All right, let's take a look at this throttle body. See if it's as bad as the last one. Wow, look at that throttle body. Oh, it's actually a lot cleaner. That's surprising. We'll clean that off obviously too. All right, we'll get these exhaust bolts off. No. I think once we get the bolts out, we should be good to pull this thing out. Oh, there we go. All right, so now we can start breaking this thing down. Look at that. How much, I don't know what got in there, but obviously something ate up all that. Just kind of scarred everything up. So here I was just removing the secondary. These come off pretty easy, especially with an impact. The one where I started to struggle was on the primary. So the top half usually comes off pretty easy because there's a spring. Once I got that out of the way, there's a puller that you use to pull the secondary sheath off. Basically what it does is it threads onto the sheath and then pushes up against the shaft on the back end and just slides it off. I tried my smaller impact, that didn't work. Here you see me grab the bigger impact and it would not come out. Everything got really hot just from trying to work it out of there. What I ended up doing that I didn't show was I put a bunch of grease in there and packed it in there and then basically hydraulically pressed it off. Definitely a chunk there. Some type of pin or something.
Oh, I see some little chunks here and there.
There's quite a bit of bearing material kind of scattered around. You could see it there. After that, it was just time to pull the transmission off the motor. There's just 4 nuts holding it together. So once you loosen those, it comes apart pretty quickly. And then there's just a bunch of 8mm bolts we need to remove. And next thing to do is basically split the case and see what kind of damage we have in there.
Oh, it looks like a bearing might have fallen apart. It's like a needle bearing or something. Everything else looks in decent condition. We'll pull this off real quick and then we'll flip it around and pull the rest of this off. Everything looks pretty good there. Nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, I keep finding chunks of needle bearing. Looks pretty good. You can see all the metal chunks right there. This looks actually pretty good. Here's the shifting fork. This is what moves back and forth. Oh, this is the needle bearing. See that? That's the needle bearing that's all over the casing. So that's what broke. So now it's in gear, but it flops around everywhere. The dogs don't look damaged. See, there's another needle bearing right there. So let's rip this apart real quick. All right, so we just gotta remove this clip here. It looks like what happened is this slid down further because it was pretty loose. It was actually down here. And then, I don't know, someone might have really reefed on it trying to get it into gear or something and slid this down. And this is supposed to be held right here to not let anything slide over. And that's what must have happened, and that's why it got destroyed. So let's go ahead and make a parts list. Got the parts in. So here's what I got. I ended up getting both needle bearings, brand new C-clips here. We've got some valve cover gaskets. We're gonna replace both of these. We've got the little shifter column lockout so the steering wheel doesn't move up and down like it's been. We also are gonna replace both of these seals, and these are for the casing here. So we've got one right here, and then the other one goes on the opposite side. So I talked to the guys that do all the repairs on the side-by-sides here in the local place, and I showed them the dogs on here. I showed them the gears, and they said it's fine, there's no issues, it's got normal wear. And then I compared it to my old one, which was really rounded off. I might actually have it here. So these right here, you can see how badly rounded off they are. And he said that's when you have to swap them. But if they've got minor wear like these do, I mean, you can tell such a big difference. This is kind of almost like a football shape, and that one's just a completely different shape. So let's go ahead and get this thing back together and get it running today. This was stuck on the other side of the case, but you can see it's got timing marks here. So we got a timing mark here, we've got timing marks on these gears. So what we want to do is we want to line up this timing mark with this, and this one with the line right here. And then we'll know this is in time here. This line lines up with that. So we're in time there. And then this should be ready to be put back together. And I got these seals, so we're gonna replace them all. That way we don't have to deal with this in the near future. Got this seal too to replace. And this is just the seal for the shifter lever, and it seals this right here. But we gotta get this seal. We're replacing this seal as well. Got a brand new seal for this side as well. Okay. Cool, we got this one all ready to go. Now we gotta flip it to the other side.
So once we got everything in there, it was time to just check through the gears, basically make sure everything was meshing fine. And I went through all the gears, low, high, reverse, everything seemed to be working fine. So I figured it was time to seal this up and then just torque everything to spec and move on to the engine.
All right, everything's torqued to spec. We got our new seal here for here, which goes on there.
So these seals here, these are the ones that go into the input shaft there that goes through the casing. It actually sits in the oil pan and basically transfers power to the front differential. We obviously don't have it currently, but we are going to use it once we get the new front differential.
This thing should be good to go for a while. All right, so now that we got the engine in there, these are actually pretty nice. They're not that expensive, and they fit right in between this hose. So I just cut on the flat spot here, and you've got your temperature right here, your temperature sensor, and it fits right here. All right, this is what you get. I just need to put the hose clamps on, and that's what it looks like all installed. So this will point We'll just wrap it right here with the wiring loom and we just go straight back. So I just adjusted the valves on this side. We're gonna do this side real quick. We're gonna replace the valve cover. I did also get some new exhaust seals, so we'll replace those. After that, this assembles pretty quickly now because we've just got the intake, the exhaust. Well, I guess we still got to do the clutches, so we got to put the clutches in on the other side. Once we do that, then we can bleed the system and take it out for a first ride and see how well it does. Oh, I guess it was just that other side. This side is fine. There's no movement at all. So we'll clean this up since these don't need adjustment, and then we'll replace the valve cover gasket and throw it back together. Okay, we got the second valve cover. New O-ring, washers. All right, we got it ready. We've got coolant in it. Obviously we got oil. I've got the primary and secondary clutch put back together. I did wire up this sensor here, so it's keyed to ignition. So that's the current temperature, 81 degrees. Gonna go ahead and fire this thing up. We're gonna have difficulty starting because obviously we had everything disconnected. I just wanna make sure injectors are plugged in. Fuel pump is good. That little bit of clicking, that's from this clutch here, the primary clutch. They have spacers, I think, in them, or shims or something to keep them from making that noise. Engine sounds really good, actually. So I've got it jacked up. I think the manual says to jack it up at an angle to try to get it coolant to circulate through. Oh, it's actually circulating. This might be easier to bleed than I thought. That's pretty noisy. I think I'm gonna throw the cover on before we take it out for a spin. I don't want pieces to fly off of it or anything. So I'll do a few cycles of that. I'm gonna throw the cover on while that happens, and then we'll take it out for a spin. All right, let's take it out for a first drive. There's still some more work to do on this thing, unfortunately, but engine sounds good. We'll see how transmission goes. Reverse works. Here's what didn't work. Hi. Has to come back out. So I think what happened was, so between reverse and high gear, there's so that C-clip keeps the gears from bouncing back and forth, and it looked like it wore a little bit of the groove off. I had my buddy make a new groove so we could set that C-clip in there, and unfortunately it was able to keep it from sliding this way, but my guess is it was able to slide the other way because it didn't have enough of a lip. So they sell that whole drum. They don't sell, they might sell the shaft itself. We'll have to take a look. If they do, that'd be great. We can do the shaft, and the gears are fine. Everything else seems fine. But my guess is that we won't know till we open it up, obviously, but I guess let's get it back where we were and rip her back apart. So it's the next day. I got everything out. Luckily, since I had just done it, everything was pretty fresh, so it went by pretty quick. So I think what's going on here, so there's a little bit of play there. I'll show you what actually happened on this one. So you can see we've got these ridges here. So those ridges are for those little snap rings. And on this one, it's completely gone, the ridges. And I had my buddy basically grind in a little further, which worked. It kept the snap ring in place. It doesn't have as much of a lip, but it was enough. But now, since we've got slop this way, it's hitting the counter shaft as it's going into gear. Anyways, I guess once we get the parts in, we'll see where we need to go from there. All right, it's been a few days. We got the part in for the main shaft on the transmission. The only problem is I'm kind of nervous because this thing said it was for a 2013 and it wasn't compatible with the 2011. The problem is the 2011, they don't have one available for whatever reason, and it's been that way for quite a while, I think, because I looked up some videos like 4 years ago and it said it was unavailable then for those guys. I'm hoping it's just the website, but the part's actually the same. I don't know why they would change it. It looks exactly the same. Let me go grab the other one, grab a caliper, we'll measure. I think this part number here is different from the other one. Let's just grab a caliper, grab the other one, and measure everything, make sure everything's the same. 90%. Yep, we're good to go. That's awesome. So let's throw this thing back together. Man, we lucked out on that because otherwise we would have had to replace the whole thing. All right, first drive. I got everything put back together. I figured I wouldn't put you guys through that.
Well, obviously that didn't work. I switched over to low gear and started listening for noises. I didn't hear anything, so for sure something was going on with that shaft. So that was part of the problem, but it wasn't the main problem, obviously. So I just put it in low gear and started driving back, listening for noises. Couldn't really hear anything.
I don't know how much you guys can hear, but low gear seems fine. It's high gear that's still grinding, and I'm not sure why.
Here you can see me, I was trying to shift and it wouldn't move. Usually when that happens, it's the one-way bearing is getting stuck. So this is another problem. Had nothing to do with the original problem, but now we were adding something else to it just to add to the confusion here.
All right, as you guys saw, this thing's still grinding. Man, that was kind of a letdown. I was really hoping that was it as far as the issues. Aside from, we've got bushings we got to replace on the upper and lower control arm. I did order a primary clutch because it's the one-way bearing is catching, and usually the one-way bearing on these, it's on the primary clutch. When they're sticking, the car will start moving by itself even if you don't give it gas, which means it's sticking. The other thing it'll do is it's really hard to pull it out of gear, which this was. I had it in high gear, but if I turned it, or in low gear, but if I went to go to high, reverse, or neutral, it wouldn't let me. So I had to shut it off, basically turn off the engine so the one-way bearing isn't spinning, and then it would let me shift it. That's what I'm hoping is the only issue. We got our clutch in. It came in today, so we're gonna open her up. Oh, look at that. Nice and smooth in there like it's supposed to be. One-way bearing works. Throw this in there, and then we'll see, we'll take this thing out for a spin, and we'll see how she does. All right, here we go. First drive with the new clutch. Wow, I'm not sure what happened there. This thing just took off on us. Put it in gear and it just started going.
As soon as I'd start it, it would either shut off or immediately start moving. That's usually a sign of a bad one-way bearing, which was kind of confusing considering we just replaced it with a brand new one. You can see here, once I start it, the secondary clutch is actually moving, so they're not supposed to. The whole point of the one-way bearing is to have a lockout for one way and then to spin freely in the other way. And this isn't doing it. This is clearly catching. So I got so frustrated at this point, I actually bought a secondary clutch. That wasn't it. I called Can-Am, talked to them. They were thinking maybe shim it. So it needed some either back spacing or forward spacing. That wasn't it. At this point, I ended up pulling the primary again, and I started messing with the one-way bearing, thinking maybe the new one was garbage. And you can see there, the lockout is actually in the opposite direction. So this one locks out to the right. And then when I switch it over to the original one-way bearing, it actually locks out to the left.
Lockout is to the left. Weird that the lockout is to the left on this one and this one's to the right. So we're gonna throw this back together and see what we got now. Okay, so one-way bearing is on, now going the opposing way. Feels pretty smooth. We've got the original one-way bearing in there with new bearings. Brand new primary and secondary. I guess let's see what we got here now. There it is. There's our issue. All right, so here we go on our first drive. We'll watch coolant temps because we haven't checked those since we haven't been out driving. I really don't know what it could be at this point, but we'll take it apart and take a look. Engine's out for the third time. All the diff fluid leaked out. Look at that. So I guess for the fourth time, time to take this thing back out and